Hey guys, so today I am presenting to you another comic book review, which is of course Sonic Universe issue 4 and the last issue of the Shadow Saga. Before I start, I'm going to give you all a brief recap of the events in the past stories that have happened up to this point. In the first issue, Shadow meets Blaze the Cat and Marine the Raccoon after being transported to their world with Metal Sonic, who they managed to take down after a seemingly difficult fight. Thanks to Blaze, who hands Shadow a free Chaos Emerald, Shadow teleports to the gun headquarters and completes one of his missions. In the second issue, he enlists the help of Sonic to take down a big ginormous laser that can vaporize crap, and in the third issue, he attempts to recruit E102 Gamma to be a member of Gun, only for that robot to get completely annihilated by another robot who is E123 Omega, who ends up becoming good in no time and takes the former's place. The said issue story ended with them about to embark on another mission. If you haven't watched my reviews on those, I suggest you should check them out first before coming back to this one. So with all that being said, let's finally get into the review. But first, can we just talk about how freaking amazing this cover is? I love it so much. I remember when I was little seeing this cover for the first time and it made me feel so ecstatic. The details on the characters are outstanding, and I even like the gun flag on the top left. You can definitely tell that Tracy Yardley has such talent for drawing stuff like these. The story begins with Shadow and Rouge preparing to be teleported into the Special Zone to pick up another Chaos Emerald. Shadow asks Rouge if he's ready to do this, but the latter states that it's just another objective like any other day. Wow, that is literally me when I'm in school. He then asks Hope if she's sure that they'll be able to reach the Special Zone with no problems this time, and Hope states that she's only a tad bit sure it might work. But at least they have one Chaos Emerald just in case they don't have a repeat of what happened last time, and by last time she means the events of issue 195 of the main comic series and the first issue of this comic series. The machine then teletransports them into the Special Zone. There they see, oh crap, it's Po from Kung Fu Panda, but evil. But no, joking aside, they meet Feist, who is a giant panda with no pupils in his eyes, and he tells them that he is the one who had tampered with the Chaos Emeralds to harness this place he created, hence the Special Zone. Rouge notices that her scatter is going miles off the charts, whereas Shadow, of course, just doesn't give a flying fudge. Such badass. He demands Feist to tell him where to find the Chaos Emeralds. Feist then challenges them by seeing if they can make it through a large pathway to retrieve the emerald. Deciding to get it over with quickly, Shadow attempts to use Chaos Control, but it doesn't work despite feeling an abundance of Chaos Energy. But it's all because Feist had limited out all of the Chaos Energy due to being the ruler of the zone. And he then tells them that they have 30 seconds left for the challenge, just to pressure the hell out of them. Great. Shadow and Rouge attempt to make it through the course with much effort with their teamwork, as they almost reach the emerald, but they were a second too late, and they get transported back to the gun HQ. The gun commander questions what happened, and after Rouge does try to explain the situation to him, Shadow decides to blame himself since he feels remotely bad that he has become a failure yet again. Later at the gym, Shadow spars with Omega. He says that he has been cleared for active duty so that he can tag along, claiming that he will blast Feist in their second encounter. But somehow this still doesn't make Shadow feel any better and just flat out throws Omega aside. Well, god damn, I guess he probably didn't take that lightly. Later on in the Guardian Mountain, the exterior of the gun HQ, Hope finds a depressed Shadow here and tries to cheer him up by saying that the capital city from afar looks pretty and the fact that you can see Soliana all the way from this height. Huh, never knew that place from Sonic 06 existed in this comic series. She then tells Shadow that it's okay that the Chaos Emerald couldn't be retrieved, but to Shadow, not so much. He's the ultimate life form that was always built to be perfect and never fail at any cost no matter what happens in the mission. This leads to Hope sharing a very interesting backstory on how she used to fail in the past. Apparently Snively, who much to my shock is her stepbrother, had convinced her to leave the Naho village and to explore the world, and she returned there only to find that it's been destroyed, and there's no way that she could face Sonic and the others again, especially when Eggman and Snively had taken her in and basically become family until it gets tragically unfortunate that she ended up leaving them behind. Shadow then reassures her by saying that the good guys never saw Eggman's attack coming, so it wasn't entirely her fault, and somehow Snively wanted to save her all along so that she wouldn't get caught in the crossfire, I assume. and now she's part of the good side facing one of Eggman's threats. Not gonna lie here though, this moment is where Shadow's characterization truly begins to shine even more, because that was such a wholesome thing that he has ever said. Come on, I want this guy as my therapist one day. Just joking. Anyway, Hope tells him that he too has not failed, and damn it Shadow, don't go back to being onomatopoeia the character on us. But yeah, she says that there's a way he can plan the next strategy on Vice because he knows how the Panda God will pull off his tricks, so that they can plan an attack rather than just blindly going through with it. She starts hugging him, exclaiming that he isn't the only one who's lost in this huge world, but she is too. And finally, after thinking of what Maria has once said to him, Shadow finally feels better. At freaking last. We went from a saddening moment to a well-deserved happy moment. So afterwards, we see everyone getting ready for their second trip to the Special Zone as Hope gets the systems going. Since they have Omega tagging along this time, they now call themselves Team Dark. They are then transported back in the Special Zone and they demand another challenge from Vice. The big ass panda has for them a center part of the large cube-shaped maze where the Chaos Emerald, their prize, is located. Team Dark accepts the challenge and they start navigating through the cuboid maze. Also, I really love this panel by the way, where Omega's all like, "We're gonna beat you to death, Feist." As the team goes through the maze, Feist is taunting the hell out of them once again, but it won't stop them from trying to make it through here. They finally see the emerald, only for it to be blocked by a bunch of jewels, and this was apparently pulled off by Feist. Goodness gracious, this man is literally trying to impede their progress on getting the emerald. This is when I think he's only just screwing around with them at this point. After the trio destroy many jewels as they can, Shadow goes to the top of the jewel pile to reach the emerald as Feist supposedly counts down, but of course he misses and fails again because of Feist screwing his crap up. God damn it. So as the Panda God gloats about their failure, Omega asks if he can advise to go ahead with the plan B and proceeds to blast Feist in the face. Thank you, Omega! Blast this asshole in the face for all the stupid crap he put us through. As he does that, Shadow and Rouge obtain the emerald. The Panda God is pissed off that he got shot at, and after not even less than a second after, Shadow says this: "Deny me all you want, but with this, even a god must bow to the ultimate life form." Best freaking line ever! Not only is this the best line I've heard in any comic book I've read, it's also one of the greatest roasts of all time. I love how savage he was when he said that. Oh my god, that was just so good. Whoever wrote that, I love you. Like, that was just really, really good. So he then uses Chaos Control to teletransport out of there, and they all make it back to the Gun HQ flawlessly. They celebrate their victory as Shadow gives to Commander the Chaos Emerald, who says that with 2 emeralds, Gun will be a force to be reckoned with. Though this makes me question what Gun even plans to do with the emeralds in the first place, considering that they have 2 so far, and they will possibly need more than that. And with that is the end of the story. Wait, what? 30 years later? What the heck is going on here? Is that supposed to be Knuckles wearing a cowboy hat and a robotic eye on his right eye? And is this Pink Echidna the same one who made a cameo appearance in the beginning of the second issue who I thought was Amy? And then, is this supposed to be their daughter? What? Oh jeez. Alright, so it turns out that Knuckles and his future wife, Julie Sue, are planning to head out, and they ask their daughter to watch the place while they're away, and the latter says that she's prepared for anything. Then we get this ending narrative where it says the next saga will take place 30 years later. Wow, that is a really long time if you ask me. Alright, so now that's the end of the whole story. So now I'm going to give my overall thoughts on this issue. This story, like the others, was pretty darn good, perhaps even better than them. When I first read this as a kid, I was really surprised as hell to see a panda of all things as a god. And his design alone looks so similar to Po from Kung Fu Panda. Like, I can't be the only one who actually thought of that when I first saw him. I still wonder if he's actually a god of destruction, considering how evil and more sinister he looks. So yeah, he's only here to provide challenges for Team Dark, by making them go through some special stages in order to reach the Chaos Emerald. However, he seems to be some sort of an ass about it, and often screws up their chances of succeeding. Like, right here, he said 10 seconds left when they're 3 inches away from the emerald, but then at the next panel, he says 1 second. What the hell? Is he like Eraser Jim from Sonic and the Secret Rings, where he kind of tried to impede Sonic's progress on collecting the world rings? Because that's what this is reminding me of right now. And it most likely just seems like he just wants to keep the emerald for himself or something like that. What a freaking douchebag. I'll get into more on this guy later, but let's talk about the highlights of the story. So Shadow's badassery and edginess from the games is still present here, and one of my favorite moments in this was when he didn't give two flying fladoodles about the situation at first, especially when he's all like, F this, I'm gonna chaos control my way through this crap since it already looks like it isn't worth our time. Also, I think now I'm starting to realize how he always teleports without an emerald, and I think it's because he has to feel its energy in order to pull it off. It explains how in the games that he's mostly able to do that on his own, presumably after doing it the first time with an emerald and could later tap into using chaos control without one. I'm probably 70% wrong on this statement, considering that this is the Archie continuity, so not everything applies to the game's continuity. The second highlight of the story was Shadow and Hope's interesting conversation about how they used to fail, and that they consoled each other about the fact that they didn't fail completely, or at least in Shadow's case, you end up going at it right away if you're there the first time, but you'll eventually learn the enemy's tricks next time. The comic tells us that during Hope's backstory, that it has happened in issue 162 of the main comic series, and the things that have happened in the other part of her backstory was in issue 175, and no comic, I don't remember that because I've never read it, but damn, does that sound pretty tragic. Now, I honestly relate to Shadow the most here, because there were times to where I have failed to accomplish many objectives in my personal life, and would often feel pretty bad about myself after wanting to take the blame. But eventually, you'd want to talk with your mom, dad, siblings, friends, or even a therapist, and they'd give you some noteworthy advice on how you would be able to handle things like that in the future. So yeah, feel free to comment below if you also relate to Shadow's failures in this arc. Anyway, the third highlight of the story, Team Dark. Yes, this issue marks the first assembly of Team Dark in any Archie Sonic series. If you all remember from Sonic Heroes, that game invented this particular team for Shadow, Rouge, and Omega, and it's still currently one of the most popular groups amongst the franchise, and you can definitely see how it's evident in this issue, as well as future issues as well. And yeah, Rouge, I'm pretty sure a majority of Sonic fans think it's a fitting name for you guys' team. Also, I find it really cool how the challenges that they go through are actually based on the special stages from Sonic 3D Blast and Sonic 1 respectively, which is actually a pretty nifty reference from those games, considering that the Chaos Emerald is their goal at the end of each maze. And the fourth and last highlight in this, Omega blasting the ever-living crap out of Feist, and Shadow's most epic line in any comic book I've ever read. I hope that one day there will be a video on Twitter or YouTube with either David Humphrey or Jason Griffith saying this line, cause I freaking love it. This man literally just roasted a god. Imagine how Beerus from Dragon Ball would react if this was said to him. So that's everything I loved about the story, and I don't think there were many flaws in this issue at all. However, there is one little concern about something. Why is the Chaos Emerald green all of a sudden? Because Shadow had already received the green Chaos Emerald from Blaze in the first issue, so there's no way there would be another emerald with the same color. According to the Sonic News Network wiki, there was an out-of-universe reason for this. Jason Jensen, who did the coloring for this issue's story, had accidentally colored it green. However, Ian Flynn decided to make an in-universe reason about it. He claimed that Feist probably made it green just to mess with Team Dark, and that when they got out of the special zone, it automatically changed back to red, which it didn't. And I'm like, okay, so what? You're telling me that Feist has the ability to change the Chaos Emerald's color? Like, something magic related? Somehow I doubt that, because in the graphic novel reprint of this, the Chaos Emerald is actually recolored red, which fixed the mistake. So I don't know if Flynn's speculation about that in-universe reason is still valid or not. But hey, at least the guy did do that to avoid seeing confusion from comic readers like myself. Now, one last thing to talk about is the giant panda god who is Feist. I've started doing research on this man, and much to my surprise, this isn't the first time he appears. He actually first appeared way back in the 43rd issue of the main series, back when it was in the second half of the classic era. I have read that issue through the 11th volume of the Sonic Archives graphic novel, and in that one, Sonic gets transported into the Zone of Silence, runs into King Acorn, and eventually encounters Vice, who looked a hell of a lot different back then. But it turns out that he was only a dream figure, as he disappears back in the King's memory when Sonic tells him, all the stuff that happened, in the early issues, but we ain't gonna talk about that. But yeah, and that was the last time that Vice existed until around issue 170, which I have never read, so I don't really know what the hell happened in that one. I really do like the details on his speech bubbles, where there are some red ovals around it to make him sound really sinister, much like Shinron. But yeah, all I know about this guy is that he's a donut hole for impeding Team Dark's progress on getting the Emerald, and I'm glad Omega blasted his ass. So overall, this issue is probably the best one of the whole Shadow Saga. Between the relatable discussion Shadow had with Hope, Rouge's data scanner being a reference to the Saiyan Scouters from Dragon Ball Z, and Omega coming up with a backup plan to shoot Feist, almost everything about this issue's story was so damn good. There's only 2 nitpicks I have with it, but even so, I still enjoyed reading this a lot. Most likely more than I did back in my elementary school days. And as for the Shadow Saga as a whole, definitely a great start for any comic book series relating to Sonic the Hedgehog. Whether it be from this, the Fleetway comic series, or IDW, I think this is the best start of them all. What's even more great about this is that it focuses on my favorite character, Shadow. And he has way better characterization than he does in the main games. He's not always stoically badass and tries to prove that he's better than Sonic or anyone else. This issue really shows that he cares on behalf of someone else other than Maria, and heck, he even feels guilty about himself failing to accomplish objectives that he was made to be perfect for. That's why he's relatable in this issue, and that's the reason I can agree on the assessment of his good characterization in the Archieverse. So for this whole issue, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Good dynamic between characters, relatable moments, the teamwork, the references, and the artwork. Literally all of it was very outstanding and fascinating to revisit from time to time. And since the cliffhanger on this last page basically lets us know about the next saga taking place 30 years in the future, I think it's about time I start getting the 30 years later graphic novel and read all 4 of those issues from start to finish just to see why this Akinda girl claims she's a guardian. Whew, and that is it for the 4th Sonic Universe comic review. Oh man, did I have a lot of things to say about this one. If you all enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to post a comment, add a like, and subscribe if you would like to see more content that I upload on the channel. Next review might either be the 5th issue of Sonic Universe, or an issue from a Spider-Man comic series known as the 2010 Marvel Adventures version. That's something that I'm currently debating right now, since I'm currently having a hard time trying to get more information about the first issue of that Spider-Man comic series. Oh boy. Also at the time that this video was posted, I actually did get the 30 years later graphic novel in the mail, and I'm already dying to read what it's all about before reviewing those issues. So just be on the lookout for the upcoming comic reviews real soon. I hope you all are having a fantastic day, and I will see you all in my next video. So peace out and take care.